What's up everybody, it's Justin Roman here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I do make videos all about filmmaking, from reviews to vlogs to tutorials. I'm actually gonna be doing more tutorials. I know I've been kind of like slacking on the YouTube game, but hey, more tutorials coming soon. Starting with this one, which is an editing breakdown of a recent video I did for Roslyn Coffee in downtown Garland. If you follow me on Instagram, if you don't, you should, at JRollFilms. You probably saw my coffee B-roll video. So I did a little cinematic B-roll and then I did the behind the scenes version on top. I wore a GoPro on my head. Kind of has a cool effect, and lately, I don't know, those videos have been doing really well on Instagram, so thanks everybody for watching them. So after making that video, I did have a lot of requests on like, oh, what'd you do for sound design, or how did you edit that? And so I threw out the question, like, would y'all want to see a editing breakdown of how I actually made this? And turns out a lot of people want to see that. So I am going to break it down for you right now, and I'm going to do the editing breakdown in 3 categories. So the 3 categories I'm going to do are: number 1, the clips, like how I actually edited the B-roll, how and why I chose the clips that I did. Category 2 is gonna be sound design, where I find my sounds, how and why I put them in the video where I did. Third category is gonna be color grading, what I did for the color grade, why I did the color grading, and what LUTs I used, and just kind of that overall process. So I normally edit on my iMac, but for whatever reason, I edited this one on my laptop, so I'm gonna be using my laptop right now. So if it's a little weird that I'm like, wow, why does he have this big iMac and he's not using it? I do use it. I actually do need to upgrade the RAM in it. It came with 8 gigabytes, which is like nothing. I upgraded it, but the RAM that I put in aftermarket didn't match the Mac, so it ended up frying the RAM slot. Had to get that repaired, so upgrade is soon happening. All right, here we go. All right, so now I have the project all pulled up, so let's dive right into it. This is my overall timeline. That way you can kind of see big picture of everything. There's all my sound design at the bottom. As you can see, there's a good amount. This entire sequence is about 45 seconds. Got 3 adjustment layers, which I'll go into later. But let's start off on the clips, how I actually edited the clips. So I'm gonna turn the volume off here. So down over here, I had separated all of my project files into bins. So I shot this on the 1DX Mark II, and then have the GoPro footage, and then I have my sounds and then my nested sequences, because those get crazy. So let's pull up the 1DX. So whenever I'm editing, I want to be able to see the clip that I'm going to be using. So I do put it on this view to where you can see, it's not the list view, it's the icon view, so you can see what footage you're working with. And then a lot of the times they're way out of order. So all you have to do for that is go to this drop down, and I do it by name, because then the name is gonna put it in like the right order sequentially. So that's cool, a little shortcut for y'all. So first thing I do when creating a sequence like this is think about, all right, what is it that I'm filming? This, I'm actually filming a process of them creating the peppermint mocha latte. I kind of know coffee, I'm a pretty avid coffee drinker. We have an espresso machine here. So I kind of already know what all goes into crafting this latte, but they do it in their own way. I asked the barista, all right, what steps are you gonna be taking? Like, what's your first step? Like, well, you gotta grind the beans. I actually did start with this clip right here, which is just B-roll of the beans. And then what I did is, after watching it, I saw this shot kind of dragged on a little too long. And I'm like, wow, like that drags on for 1 second. I don't necessarily need it to drag on for that whole second. So, and I got a couple different shots of the coffee from different angles, different lighting, different distances away from the coffee. What I did is I wanted to have a cool little start to it. I wanted to have some quick cuts at the beginning to really catch people's attention. So I started off with this shot, even though it's kind of counterintuitive. I started off with the shot of the espresso pouring just for a split second, and then actually this cool motion at 24 frames a second of them tamping the coffee. So I did that, and then I cut to the actual, all right, the beans, that's what's about to happen. And then here on this real second shot, I got a head-on shot of the beans, and I told her to start grinding, so she was grinding it at this point, and this is all at 120. I just came right down. So you can see that this is a nested sequence, so let me just open this up for you. All right, so you have this clip right here, this is all 120. Like if I were to tap F on the keyboard to have it pull up over here, you click on it, and then this is the motion that you're seeing. Look how slow that is. And I mean, it's kind of smooth. There's a little bit of jitters. So you got that, right? That's a cool shot. I wanted to add a little speed ramp from that transition because that shot, like at 120, just lasts way too long. So I go 120 and then it speeds up to get down there. And why you're seeing the nesting portion of it is because I added a warp stabilizer. If you go under effects, you can drag and drop that on your footage. Effects control, I always do smoothness at 1%, maybe 2%. Max I've ever gone is like 5%, just because if you go above 5, it makes it look all like wonky. All right, so on the next shot, it's basically just a jump cut in the portafilter, taking that away from there and going to set it down. Just some jump cuts there, nothing crazy. So the reason I cut to her doing a jump cut there is nobody wants to watch beans, like grounded coffee beans, like pour for too long. Like it looks cool, but how long can that shot really last before people get bored and distracted, I myself included? So you scroll on, jump cut there, jump cut here. Anytime you see a nested sequence like that, it means I probably threw on a warp stabilizer at 1 or 2%. And I did film this. Whenever I'm filming, I catch so many different angles, because it's only me, right? I'm catching so many different angles of the same thing. We probably did this coffee ground thing like, I don't know, 8 to 10 times, if not more, just to make sure I captured enough angles so that when I'm going through all my footage, I can pick what I want. So I just told her, all right, go through like you would normally go through the process. Then it came down to the tamping time, and I'm like, wow, that's a really cool tamp. So I tried a couple different angles of her actually grabbing the tamp. So if you see on here, she did it here, she kind of dragged it, but if you see on that clip, she dragged it faster than what I tracked it. Even though it's pretty smooth, this one was the best clip that I actually captured, where I'm kind of following it with it. It's pretty hard. I had to stand on like a stool and stand over her and like drag it with it. So, but as you can see, if you go down, I also filmed it like from this angle, her setting it in there. This shot was cool and it kind of shows you that I use manual focus for this whole thing. I set my manual focus right there, and then I just backed away from it and did a little push in. This is an editing cover up right here. Because this sequence right here, you can see the colors before, it's not super great. I didn't like this tamping shot as much as I liked the other one. So if you go to the following one, I like that angle. It just changes up the angle a little bit. So I ended up using that shot, and then she does this really cool spin. And I did get that filmed a couple different times, and they do that normally. So I was just capturing what they normally do. But as you can see, I tried the whole spin shot from up here where I'm like kind of pushing into it. So I didn't want to repeat anything. So you can see that shot there. And then I move forward, and it's just a bunch of like quick cuts, right? And then this was all filmed in 120. And if you notice in the video, this shot is from the left of her facing my LED light that is up here. And then it cuts to the other side where she's lit up and the background's kind of more dark. I did that for a couple reasons. One, mainly because it just didn't flow as well. Like you see, it's kind of out of focus. She caught it kind of off. And honestly, that shot took the most time because the coffee kept falling out while she was like spinning it. I don't know if it wasn't just tamped all the way or what, but she admitted to me she's not like she doesn't normally do that. She's not very good at it. But in this video, I make her look like she's a pro. So you just time up these clips perfectly. I overlaid that right there. I really like the lighting in this clip because it kind of just has that like moment with coffee. And then she catches it, cut to a different angle when she's actually locking it in place. So I think about the movements when I'm filming, like, all right, she's gonna flip it and then she's gonna put it in the thing. So those can be 2 to 3 different camera movements or camera angles that'll just make the viewer feel like they're actually there and feel like what's happening. Because there's a lot going on, but if it's just one camera setup from one angle and I'm just holding it, filming everything she's doing, it's not very entertaining, at least to me. I mean, if you think otherwise, let me know, drop me a comment. And then from there, just go to the coffee brewing, I mean, that's like slow motion at its finest. That has to be in 120. Like, if it's not, like 24 just wouldn't make sense right here. Caught a couple different angles of this. This is actually a couple different times that the espresso was being brewed. And then just did some cool transitions where I start here, I did a tilt down, and then from here I did kind of a tilt down again from top to bottom, just where I'm cutting across the coffee. And then I did a jump cut here. I really like this shot because you could really see the steam because the light's hitting it from the back. You can see that steam coming off. And that's pretty much what I did. That's like my editing workflow. I'm going through all these clips. I'm figuring out, all right, what shots look the best. And I have all these shots because when I was filming, I filmed with the edit in mind. I'm filming with purpose on purpose, right? I want to film from as many different angles, like I said, so that when I get in here, I can be like, ooh, I like the way this shot is compared to this shot. All right, so part two, I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit more, is sound design, where I pick my sounds, why I pick the sounds. I don't actually end up doing sound design until like the very end. Like I wanna have the B-roll sequence done, boom, it looks great. And then I wanna go back and add sounds. So for this, I really didn't use, I didn't use any of the sounds I recorded on the scene, on location. I found all my sounds through Motion Array. Just here, you can just search for it. You can also click sound effects right here to make sure that you're only searching for sound effects. They have a lot of cool sounds. Whatever sounds I couldn't find on Motion Array, I found on Epidemic Sound. So those are the two sites I use to find my sounds. As I'm deciding, all right, what sounds should go in there, I go through the clips. So if you go right here, I'm gonna mute the music layer. All right, so let me go through and play this for you. This first sound right here is, you tap F, you can hear, this is just coffee being like moved around, right? It's kind of cool. Makes sense for it to start out like that. This is I have tons of whoosh sounds, and the whoosh sounds sound really good whenever you're doing a transition, especially in slow motion, doing speed ramps. I use them a lot right here. That's the whoosh sound. Tap on here, it's just, this is isolated. I mean, that's a pretty cool whoosh sound. I don't remember where I found that, if it was Epidemic or Motion Array, and then this was the sound of somebody turning on a coffee maker, which in this case, I meant like the grinder. So just kind of added that in there. And then you hear the grinding noise right there. I downloaded that, threw that in there. And then you go back to this. This is I don't know. That's a really cool sound. I was meaning for it to be like them actually taking off the portafilter from the coffee grinder. So you can kind of tell. And they're not perfectly synced up, but they sync up enough like with the music that it makes sense. And then this is, I needed some type of rolling, sliding thing. So I did that sound. I actually think I stretched that out a little bit. You can tap R on the keyboard, do the rate stretch tool, stretch out that sound. Changes the pitch when you do that, so you can actually alter the same sound and make it sound like different sounds. So that's cool. What I did for this dragging the tamp across is I had this, the whoosh. So here's the whole whoosh. All I did is I took the last like kind of half of it and I reversed it. So if you listen, and then right after that whoosh, I went into another whoosh, that is this one. So it makes for a really cool compilation of, right? Probably should have done some sound design of them actually spinning the tamp on the portafilter, but there's always next level stuff that you can do to upgrade your films and all that. So you just got to think about that. How good do you want to make this? How many sounds do you want to put in there? It always sounds better when you add different levels and different layers of sound. If it's just one sound here, one sound there, it'll add a little something, but it's when you start doing this where you add multiple sounds and integrate them all to flow really well. When you're listening to this in post, it sounds like a piece of art. Right? Had a lot of fun making this one. So I'm not gonna go through all the sounds, but you can kind of see process. You hear the espresso machine going. hear a whoosh. I'll be making a video soon about me switching from my Sony a7 III to my Canon 1DX Mark II. But one thing I've noticed about Canon files, whenever I would speed ramp them, in the playback, it screws it up. Like, it screws up the playback right there. But if I scroll through the file, it actually knows what it's supposed to be doing, but for whatever reason, maybe it's just too high quality of a file. Maybe I don't have enough RAM, I don't know, but it doesn't play it back correctly. But it exports fine, so I don't know if Canon users have had that issue before, but it's really interesting. And then you get the espresso pouring in there, and then you get the pumps. This, I did use a espresso steam. I found this was Epidemic Sound, so that was cool. And then I used this, it's like a cinematic hit. Right, those are always cool to use. This one I got from Motion Array. So you can just hear that. And then the espresso steam. I did all that sound design in post. You can see it all right there. Then pouring the milk to make the latte. And then just a little bit of the swooshes. I love those cinematic swooshes, but it's gotta be a high quality like swoosh. It shows in your edits when you take the time to find good high quality sounds and put those in your films. So definitely use that when doing sound design. All right, lastly, I'm not gonna spend too much time on it because I have other color grading tutorials on my YouTube channel. For this purpose, what I did, I'll break down each adjustment layer. This adjustment layer, you go to Lumetri Color, I selected it. The top one is, the top layer, I just adjusted the shadows a little bit on the curves, and then I raised the blacks up, get a little faded black. On the second adjustment layer, I applied my LUT, and for this one, I applied it at 60%. As you can see, it just from 0 to 60, it just kind of like gives that faded, like desaturated color look without altering the colors like too much. So I really like that, so I put that at like 60%. And then third level of adjustment layer, I increased the saturation just a little bit. And then I actually did a combination. I added the Delta LUT from, I believe, Vision Color Osiris's LUTs. I added that just at 12%. It just gives a little bit more of a desaturated look. If I apply that LUT 100%, you can see it's like black and white. With Canon colors, I've noticed I don't have to do nearly as much color correction and color grading to get like a good looking image in camera, and that's one of the big reasons I switched to Canon from Sony. Anyways, I hope y'all did enjoy this tutorial. I hope you got a lot from it. If you have any other further questions, drop me a comment below. I would love to hear from you, and we will catch you filmmakers next time.